The cell was cold. The walls were gray metal, smooth and silent. A single light burned above, sharp and white, showing every corner with no place to hide. She sat in the center of the floor, her hands bound in strange human cuffs. Her name was Arya, daughter of a proud warrior clan. Among her people, she had always been taught one thing: fear the humans. They were the destroyers, the merciless ones. Their ships burned whole worlds. Their armies left nothing behind but smoke and silence. That was what her leaders had told her since she was a child, and now she was their prisoner. Her heart beat hard in her chest. Every sound outside the door made her flinch. The heavy boots of soldiers echoed down the corridor. Somewhere far away she heard the sharp hiss of doors opening and closing, and the hum of machines she did not understand. Arya's breath was shallow. She tried to remind herself she was a warrior. She had sworn never to beg, never to show weakness. If humans wanted to kill her, she would face death standing tall. But in this empty room, the silence pressed against her and courage was harder to hold. The door slid open. 2 human soldiers stepped inside. They were tall, their armor heavy, their helmets hiding their faces. Between them walked another man, but he wore no helmet. His uniform was dark, marked with silver lines at the shoulders. His hair was short, his face sharp, and his eyes, those eyes made her stomach twist. Cold, calm. Studying her like she was a puzzle. This must be their commander. He stopped in front of her and said nothing. For a long time he only looked at her. Arya glared back, refusing to bow her head. If this was the end, she would not give them the pleasure of seeing fear. Finally he spoke. His voice was steady, low, almost quiet. "You are not what I expected." The words confused her. She had expected threats, insults, maybe even the first blow. Instead, his tone was almost curious. She spat at the floor near his boots. "Do what you came to do, human. Kill me and be done." One soldier raised his weapon, but the commander lifted a hand, stopping him. His eyes never left her. "If I wanted you dead," he said, "you would not be here." Arya froze. What did he mean? Her people had always said humans loved killing, that they kept prisoners only to torture them. Was this a trick? The commander crouched, bringing his face closer to hers. His eyes were strange. There was no hate in them, only something she could not name. "You think you know us," he said softly. "But you don't, not yet." Her chest tightened. She wanted to shout at him, to tell him she knew exactly what humans were, but the words stuck in her throat. Something in his voice was wrong. Something did not match the stories she had always believed. He stood and motioned to the soldiers. One placed a small metal tray in front of her. Food, a simple meal, steam rising in the cold room. A cup of water beside it. Arya's eyes narrowed. She pushed it away with her bound hands. "Poison!" she hissed. The commander didn't argue. He didn't try to force her. He only studied her a moment longer, then turned toward the door. Before leaving, he said one last thing. "You are not our enemy. Not yet. But soon, you will decide what happens next." Then the door closed, sealing her in silence once more. That night, Arya lay on the floor, her stomach aching with hunger, her throat dry. The food remained untouched. She stared at the tray in the dim light, unsure why it was still there. If they wanted her to die, why feed her at all? She remembered the commander's words. "You will decide what happens next." What choice could she possibly have? She was chained, trapped, alone, but still, something in his voice haunted her. He had not looked at her with hate. Not with cruelty. His gaze had been something else, measuring, waiting. Outside her cell, footsteps echoed again. Heavy boots moving quickly this time. She sat up, straining to listen. The steps grew louder, closer, then stopped just beyond her door. A sharp alarm rang through the base, deep and urgent. Red light flashed against the narrow window in the door. Arya's heart jumped. Something was happening. She pressed her ear to the door, listening. Voices shouted. Machinery roared. And beneath it all, a strange high-pitched sound, not human at all. Her eyes widened. Whatever it was coming closer. And for the first time, Arya wondered if humans were not the only danger waiting in the dark. The alarm faded, but the silence that followed was worse. Arya sat on the cold floor of her cell, her ears still ringing with the strange, high-pitched sound. She kept her back against the wall, eyes fixed on the door, waiting for it to open, but nothing happened. The food tray still lay untouched in front of her. The steam was gone now, the water flat and still. She had been too proud to touch it before. Now, with her throat burning, she began to wonder, if humans truly meant to poison her, would they have waited this long? Her stomach growled. She clenched her teeth, forcing the weakness down. She was a warrior. She would not bend so easily. The door hissed. Her body tensed as two soldiers stepped inside. Behind them, once again, came the commander. He carried no weapon, only that same steady gaze that made her chest tighten with unease. He glanced at the untouched tray, then at her. Still not hungry? His voice was calm, almost too calm. She glared at him but said nothing. You believe it is poisoned, he continued. That we wish to break you. That's what you've been told. Arya spat on the ground again, though her mouth was dry. Do you deny it? The commander did not answer. Instead, he motioned to a soldier. The man bent, lifted the cup of water, and handed it to him. Slowly, with Arya watching, the commander drank it all in one swallow. Her eyes widened. The commander placed the empty cup back on the tray. Not poison, just water. But still you fear it. She hated the way he spoke, as if he could see into her thoughts. She hated even more the small flicker of relief inside her. What game is this? She demanded. He crouched down so his eyes were level with hers. No game, a test. Fear rules you. Not chains, not walls, fear. But fear can be broken. Arya's heart pounded. She wanted to call him a liar. She wanted to tell him humans knew nothing about fear. Yet deep inside his words stung because they felt true. The commander stood. He gave a short order and the soldiers unbound her wrists. The cuffs fell away with a metallic clink. Arya rubbed her sore hands, glaring, uncertain. Why free me? She asked. The commander only said, Because you must see for yourself. Without another word, he turned and walked out. The soldiers motioned for her to follow. For a moment she considered fighting, but she had no weapon, no strength, and something about the commander's quiet confidence unsettled her. So she followed. They led her through the base. Metal corridors stretched in every direction, lit by harsh lights. Humans moved quickly, some carrying weapons, others working at glowing panels. Everywhere the alarm lights still pulsed red. Arya caught glimpses through small windows. Dark skies, tall fences, and beyond them, shadows moving. Too many shadows, her stomach turned. Those sounds she had heard in the night, they were real. Finally, they entered a large chamber. The air here was tense, filled with the hum of machines and the smell of oil. Dozens of soldiers prepared weapons, checking armor. In the center stood the commander. When he saw her, he spoke loudly enough for all to hear. This prisoner believes we are her enemy. She believes humans wish to destroy her kind, but tonight she will see the truth. Arya felt every pair of eyes turned to her. Some were cold, filled with distrust, others simply curious. But none looked afraid. The commander motioned to the wall. A wide panel came alive, showing a view outside the base. Arya's breath caught. They were out there, the creatures. Dark, insect-like monsters crawling across the ground, their limbs sharp and glistening. Hundreds of them, maybe more, moving toward the base in waves. Her body froze. She had never seen such things before. They were not human. They were something far worse. They come every night, the commander said. We hold them back. If we fail, none of us, human or alien, will survive. The soldiers around him moved with precision, loading weapons, checking shields. No panic, no hesitation. Just grim focus. Arya could not speak. Her mind twisted with confusion. Her people had told her humans were the great destroyers. But these creatures outside, these were the true destroyers. The commander turned to her once more. His voice was steady, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. You see now. You are not our prisoner. You are our guest. Protected even if you don't yet understand why. She shook her head. Why? Why would you protect me? He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. Because sometimes enemies are not who we think, and sometimes fear blinds us to the real danger. Arya's heart hammered. She wanted to deny his words, to cling to the warnings of her people. But the shadows crawling outside the base were real. The fear she felt now was not of humans. It was of them. The commander handed her something, a small piece of metal, smooth and sharp-edged, a blade, not large but enough to fight with. Her fingers trembled as she closed around it. This is your second test, he said. When they break through, you will have a choice. Stand with us, or fall alone. The ground shook as the first creatures slammed against the outer walls. Screeches filled the air, piercing and inhuman. Soldiers moved into position, weapons ready. Arya's throat went dry. She gripped the blade tighter, her breath fast, and for the first time she wondered if the stories of her people were nothing but lies. The walls shook again. Dust rained from the ceiling. Sirens screamed through the human base, flashing red light across steel corridors. Arya stood frozen, her blade clutched tight in her hand. She had never faced such enemies before. The insect creatures outside slammed their massive limbs against the barrier again and again, their shrieks cutting through metal. The humans did not flinch. Soldiers rushed to their stations, armor locking into place, weapons glowing with strange energy. Their faces were hard, but their movements calm, trained. They had done this before. Arya's heart raced. Her people had always said humans loved war, but what she saw now was not bloodlust. It was survival. The commander's voice rang clear over the chaos. "Hold the line. Shields to maximum. Prepare for breach." The ground thundered as something heavy struck. A crack formed in the wall screen. Arya's stomach twisted, and then with a scream that made her blood run cold, the first creature broke through. It was worse up close. Its body was black and armored, its eyes like burning holes. 4 sharp legs stabbed the floor, leaving deep marks. Its mouth split open into rows of teeth dripping with slime. The humans opened fire. Blue bursts of energy shot across the chamber, striking the monster's shell. The air filled with the smell of burning flesh. The creature screamed, lunging forward. Arya stumbled back. Every instinct told her to run. This was not her fight. She was a prisoner. She owed these humans nothing. But then she saw it. One of the young soldiers thrown to the ground as the monster charged. The soldier's weapon skittered across the floor, too far to reach. The creature's jaws opened wide above him. The commander shouted, but he was too far. Without thinking, Arya moved. She leapt forward, blade flashing in her hand. With all her strength, she drove the weapon into the monster's side, right between the plates of armor. The creature screeched, twisting in rage. Its clawed limb struck her across the shoulder, throwing her against the wall. Pain exploded through her body. Still, the soldier scrambled free. He grabbed his weapon, aimed, and fired. The monster collapsed, shaking the floor as it died. Arya gasped for air, clutching her shoulder. Blood dripped down her arm. For a moment, the room went still. Soldiers stared at her. Not with anger, not with suspicion, this time with shock. The commander stepped forward, his eyes fixed on her. "You saved him," he said quietly. Arya's chest burned. She wanted to deny it, to say she had only acted on instinct. But the truth was clear. She had saved a human. Another screech cut through the air. More creatures poured in through the breach, crawling over each other, their sharp limbs slicing the metal floor. The battle exploded again. Humans fired, shouting orders, their formation tight. The monsters fell one by one, but for each that died, more pressed forward. Arya gritted her teeth and rose to her feet. Her shoulder throbbed, but her legs held firm. She grabbed her blade tighter. She fought. Her movements were swift, honed by years of training among her people. She ducked beneath the monster's strike, plunging her blade into the soft flesh under its jaw. She twisted, pulling free as it collapsed. Another creature lunged, but she rolled aside, stabbing at its leg. Sparks flew as it crashed into the wall. The humans around her shouted in surprise, but then their cries turned into something else. Encouragement. "On your left. Behind you!" They fought as one, covering each other, moving together like parts of a living machine. For the first time, Arya felt herself pulled into their rhythm. She was no longer an outsider. She was part of their line. Hours, or perhaps only minutes, passed in a blur of noise, fire, and screams. One by one, the monsters fell. Their bodies piled against the breach until finally silence fell again. The chamber was filled with smoke and the sharp smell of blood. Soldiers slumped against the walls, breathing hard. Medics rushed in, tending to the wounded. Arya dropped her blade, her arm trembling. Her body was covered in cuts, her shoulder numb with pain. But she was alive. She looked around at the humans. They were battered, bruised, bleeding, but they were alive too. Because they had fought together. One of the young soldiers, the same one she had saved, approached her. His helmet was off now, his face pale but grateful. "Thank you," he said softly. The words stunned her. No human had ever spoken to her with kindness. For a moment, she did not know how to reply. She only nodded, her throat too tight to speak. The commander stepped forward, his uniform torn, a cut across his cheek, but his eyes burned with quiet fire. "You fought with us," he said. "You saved lives. You are not our prisoner anymore." Arya blinked. "Then what am I?" The commander studied her for a long moment. Then he said, "Something your leaders never wanted you to know. A partner, an ally, and soon, you will learn the truth they hid from you." Arya's chest tightened. The truth? What truth? But before she could ask, the commander turned away, speaking to his soldiers, giving orders, and deep inside, a new thought grew inside Arya, one more terrifying than the monsters she had just faced. What if everything she had been told about humans was a lie? The battlefield stank of smoke and burnt flesh. The broken bodies of insect creatures lay scattered across the chamber floor, their black shells cracked and steaming. Human soldiers moved among the wreckage, checking weapons, pulling the wounded to safety. Arya leaned against the wall, her chest heaving. Her shoulder burned where the monster's claw had struck her. Blood still trickled down her arm, but she refused to show weakness. She had survived. More than that, she had fought beside humans. The commander walked toward her. His uniform was torn and blood streaked across his cheek, but his steps were steady. He looked at her as though weighing something heavy in his mind. "You fought with honor," he said simply. Arya tensed. She had expected suspicion, maybe even anger. Instead, his words carried respect. "I fought to survive," she muttered. "Survival often builds bonds stronger than loyalty," he replied. His words stayed with her long after he left. Later, in the medical bay, Arya sat on a metal bed while a human medic cleaned the wound on her shoulder. She hissed in pain, but the medic worked gently, careful not to hurt her more than needed. "Why?" she asked suddenly. The medic paused. "Why what?" "Why help me? I am your enemy." The medic's hand stilled. He looked at her with tired eyes. "Because you bleed. Because you hurt. That is reason enough." Arya had no answer. She lowered her gaze, silent as the medic wrapped her arm in clean bandages. For the first time, she wondered if kindness could exist without hidden purpose. Days passed. The monsters attacked again and again, but each time humans stood firm, and each time Arya fought beside them. At first, the soldiers watched her with wary eyes, but slowly their suspicion began to fade. They saw how she moved in battle, how she never ran, how she struck with precision. They saw her risk herself to pull a wounded man out of danger, or how she shouted a warning just in time to save another. And one night, when the fighting was done, she found herself sitting near the fire pit with them. Soldiers laughed, their helmets off, their faces tired but alive. Someone passed her a piece of bread. She hesitated, then accepted. It was the first time she had eaten with humans. The bread was dry, the taste plain, but something about it warmed her chest. She listened as they told stories of their homes, blue oceans, green forests, tall cities of glass and steel. Their voices softened as they spoke of families waiting far away. She had expected humans to be cold machines of war. Instead, they spoke with longing, with love. When they asked about her world, Arya froze. She thought of her people, proud and fierce, always preparing for war. She thought of her leaders' harsh voices, warning of human cruelty. She thought of her clan's code, trust no one but your own kind. For the first time, she felt shame. One evening, the commander summoned her to his quarters. The room was simple, lit only by a dim lamp. Maps and screens covered the walls, glowing with symbols she did not understand. He stood at the table studying a display. When she entered, he looked up. "You've earned their trust," he said. "I never asked for it," Arya replied. "Maybe not, but you have it." He motioned for her to step closer. On the screen, she saw shapes moving across a map. Ships, fleets, armies. "Your people," the commander said quietly. "They gather near our borders." Preparing for war, Arya's breath caught. "No, they told us you were the ones who invaded." The commander's eyes locked on hers. "We did not start this war. Your leaders want you to believe we did, but the truth is different." Her chest tightened. Could it be true? Could everything she had believed be lies? The commander leaned forward, his voice steady. "You have seen us fight. You have seen us bleed. Do we look like conquerors, or do we look like survivors?" Arya thought of the medic's gentle hands, the soldier who thanked her, the laughter around the fire. She thought of the way humans fought, not for glory, but to protect one another. She had no answer. The commander stepped back. His face softened just slightly. "You are not our prisoner anymore. You are free to leave. But I think you already know. Your people have kept the truth from you, and soon you will have to choose who you really are." That night, Arya could not sleep. She lay awake in her cell. Not locked anymore, but she stayed anyway, unsure where else she belonged. Her thoughts circled endlessly. She remembered her clan's songs of honor, the warnings about human cruelty. She remembered the commander's eyes, calm and steady, and the soldiers' laughter around the fire. For the first time in her life, her loyalty was not clear, and when the alarm sounded again, sharper and louder than before, she rose to her feet without hesitation. She grabbed her blade and ran toward the noise, toward the humans, not because she had to, but because something deep inside her whispered that her place was no longer behind them, but beside them. The attack that night was the worst yet. The creatures swarmed in endless waves, their claws raking across steel, their shrieks piercing the air. Arya fought with the humans until her arms ached and her lungs burned. Together they held the line once more, though the ground was slick with blood, both human and alien. When the last monster fell, silence returned. But it was not the silence of peace. It was heavy, grim, filled with the weight of too many questions. Arya's questions burned hottest of all. The commander had shown her the map, the signs of her people preparing for war. His words echoed in her mind, "We did not start this." Your leaders lied, she wanted to believe him, and yet belief meant betrayal. The next morning the commander summoned her again. This time he led her deep into the base, past sealed doors and guarded corridors, until they reached a chamber she had never seen before. Inside, the air was cool and dim. A great table sat at the center, its surface glowing with shifting light. Holograms filled the room, images of worlds, fleets, battles recorded in perfect detail. The commander gestured to one of the projections. It showed Arya's people, ships marked with the sigils of her clans. They fired upon human colonies, raining fire from the skies. Cities burned, civilians fled. The screams filled the room as clearly as if they were alive. Arya's breath caught. Her knees weakened. No, this cannot be. The commander's face was grave. These are not our lies. These are transmissions your leaders could never erase. For years they have fed you false stories. They told you we were the monsters, but it was their hands that brought fire to the stars. Arya shook her head violently. Lies, you forged this. To trick me. Then listen with your own ears. He tapped a control. A voice filled the chamber, deep, commanding. Unmistakable, Arya's blood froze. It was the voice of her High Chancellor, leader of her people. The message was clear, cold, ruthless. The humans must remain the enemy. Our people need fear to keep them united. Truth will break us apart. The insects serve their purpose well. They distract the humans while we take their worlds piece by piece. Arya's hands trembled. Her chest tightened until she could hardly breathe. She stumbled back, clutching the wall, her own leader. Her people. All the stories, all the warnings, they had been lies. The commander's voice cut through her shock, steady and low. You see now. The real enemy is not us. It is not even the creatures outside. It is those who use fear to control you. They have made you fight a war that was never yours. Tears burned in Arya's eyes, though she fought to hold them back. Her people had sworn themselves to honor, to truth. And yet their honor was false, their truth twisted. She thought of the medic's gentle hands, the soldiers' gratitude, the laughter around the fire. None of them had felt like lies, and now she knew why. Arya turned on the commander, fury mixing with grief. Why show me this? Why not kill me when you had the chance? He held her gaze without flinching. Because you still matter. Your people trust you. If you see the truth, perhaps others will too. You can be the bridge that saves more lives than I ever could. She shook her head. You ask me to betray my own. I ask you to choose what kind of warrior you want to be, he said. One who fights for lies, or one who fights for truth. His words cut deeper than any blade. That night, Arya walked alone through the base. She saw soldiers asleep in their bunks, weary but alive. She saw engineers repairing walls with steady hands, refusing to give up. She saw the memorial wall, where names of the fallen were carved into metal, glowing faint in the light. These humans did not act like conquerors. They acted like survivors. She thought of her clan's songs of honor, of leaders who had spoken of duty and pride. But now those songs rang hollow. What honor was there in lies? Her chest ached. She felt torn between two worlds, one of blood, one of truth. The next evening, as she sat alone, the young soldier she had once saved approached her. He carried a small device in his hand, a communicator. This came for you, he said quietly. Arya took it, her hands shaking. She activated the message. A hologram flickered to life and her heart stopped. It was her brother. His voice was hurried, sharp with fear. "Sister, the High Chancellor prepares for the strike. The humans will be destroyed soon. You must stay alive until we come for you. Do not trust them. They are snakes in the dark. Hold to our blood. Hold to our honor." The message ended. Her brother's face faded, leaving only silence. Arya closed her eyes. Her family. Her blood. She could not bear to imagine turning against them. And yet, when she opened her eyes, she saw the human soldier watching her with quiet hope, as though her choice might save him too. The weight of it crushed her. She whispered into the stillness, more to herself than to him. Honor is nothing if it is built on lies. The base was tense, like a bowstring pulled too tight. Outside, the insect creatures had grown restless again, their shrieks echoing in the distance. Inside, humans moved quickly, reinforcing walls, reloading weapons, speaking in clipped voices. But the true storm was not outside the walls. It raged inside Arya. Her brother's message still burned in her mind. Do not trust them. Hold to our blood. Hold to our honor. Her blood told her to wait for her people, to turn her back on the humans. But her heart whispered something different, something dangerous. The commander found her in the training hall, where she swung a practice blade again and again, as if striking the walls could quiet her thoughts. You received a message, he said simply. Arya froze. Slowly she lowered the blade. You knew? His eyes were steady. We monitor all transmissions that pass through our field. We could have stopped it, but we didn't. Why? Her voice cracked with anger. Because I will not make your choice for you. Arya's fists clenched. Choice? You ask me to betray my family, my people. I ask you to see the truth, the commander said. Your leaders will not stop. They will attack this base even knowing it means death for both our races. You know this now. Arya's chest tightened. She wanted to scream, to deny, but she could not. She had heard the Chancellor's voice with her own ears. She had seen the burning cities in the recordings. She whispered, If I fight with you, my people will call me traitor. They will hunt me forever. The commander's voice softened. And if you fight with them, you will kill men and women who saved your life. Soldiers who called you ally. Which path do you fear more? Arya's throat closed. She had no answer. That night, the humans gathered in the war room. Soldiers, engineers, medics, all stood around the glowing map. Arya lingered at the edge, her hood low, listening. The commander pointed to the hologram. Scouts confirm alien fleets moving toward us. Not the insects. Her people. The room grew cold. Murmurs spread. Some soldiers turned their eyes on Arya hard and sharp. She'll warn them, one spat. She'll sell us out. Another added, we let her fight beside us and this is how it ends. A knife in the back. Arya's stomach twisted. Their words cut deep because part of her feared they were right. The commander raised a hand. Enough. She has stood with us in battle. She has shed blood beside us. Or for the chance to get close, a soldier muttered. Silence fell. All eyes turned to her. Arya felt her chest burn. This was the test the commander had spoken of. Not fear of chains, not fear of monsters, fear of who she truly was. She took a step forward. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. My people are coming. I cannot deny it. They believe this war is honor. They believe you are monsters. She looked around the room, meeting their eyes. But I have fought with you. I have seen how you bleed for each other. You are not the monsters. The soldiers stared, their faces unreadable. Arya drew her blade. Slowly she dropped it on the table. The sound rang through the room like thunder. My life belongs here now. If you cannot trust me, then kill me. But I will not raise this blade against you. The silence held heavy and long. Then the young soldier she had once saved stepped forward. He lifted her blade and handed it back to her. You already proved yourself, he said. The room eased, just slightly, but the weight of their choice still hung thick in the air. Hours later, Arya stood on the roof of the base, staring at the horizon. The night sky burned with faint red light, engines of her people's fleet drawing closer. The commander joined her. He did not speak at first. He simply stood beside her as though sharing the same silence. Finally, he said, War breaks more than bodies. It breaks truth. But sometimes one voice is enough to mend what leaders destroy. Arya kept her eyes on the horizon. My voice will not stop them. Perhaps not, he admitted. But your actions might. She turned to him, her chest heavy. If I stand with you, I will lose everything I was. He met her gaze, steady and unflinching, then become something greater. Her heart pounded. She thought of her clan's banners, her family's faces, her brother's plea. Then she thought of the soldier she had saved, the medic's gentle hands, the laughter around the fire. Two worlds pulled at her, and as the dark shapes of her people's fleet glimmered in the distance, Arya knew the moment had come. She whispered to herself, almost like a vow. No more lies. Not from them. Not from me. The sky burned red with fire. Arya stood on the roof of the human base, staring at the horizon where her people's fleet tore through the clouds. Warships moved in formation, their engines glowing like suns. Dozens of them. Hundreds, perhaps. Their shadows stretched across the land like the wings of death. Behind her, the base was alive with noise. Alarms screamed, soldiers hurried into position, weapons charged with energy. The walls shook as insect creatures shrieked in the distance, stirred into frenzy by the coming storm. Two enemies, one outside, one above, and Arya stood between them. The commander joined her, his armor scratched, his face lined with fatigue. Yet his eyes burned with the same calm fire she had seen since the first day. They will strike soon, he said. When they do, this base will fall unless we fight as one. Arya's chest tightened. Her brother's face haunted her mind. His plea, do not trust them. Hold to our blood, hold to our honor. But what honor remained in lies? She turned to the commander. Her voice was low, steady. If I choose you, my people will call me traitor. His reply was quiet, almost gentle. If you choose lies, you will call yourself the same. The words struck deeper than any blade. The first strike came from the sky. Bright lances of energy rained down, slamming into the earth around the base. Explosions lit the night, shaking the ground like thunder. The walls trembled, dust and flame filling the air. The humans returned fire, their cannons glowing blue, but their weapons were small against the might of Arya's people. In the chaos, the insects surged again, drawn by the noise. Their shrieks pierced the air as they swarmed the outer fences. It was madness. Humans fighting on two fronts, against her people above, and against the monsters below. Arya's hand tightened around her blade. Her heart pounded. This was the moment she had to choose. The gates shook. A swarm of insects broke through, clawing and slashing at the soldiers. Screams rose as the creatures flooded in. Without hesitation, Arya leapt into the fight. Her blade flashed as she struck down one, then another. She moved with fury, her voice rising in a warrior's cry. A young soldier stumbled, his weapon torn from his hands. Arya cut down the creature that lunged for him, then pulled him to his feet. Stand, she shouted. Stand and fight. The soldier's eyes widened, not with suspicion, not with fear, but with trust. At that moment, something broke inside her. The last chain tying her to the lies of her people snapped. She was no longer their pawn, she was human's shield. Above, her people's ships descended lower, preparing their final strike. Arya's stomach twisted. She could see the markings of her clan on one of the vessels. Her family was there. Maybe even her brother. Tears blurred her vision. But she did not falter. She climbed the tower, grabbed the comms device, and switched it to her people's frequency. This is Arya of the Valren clan. Her voice rang across the sky. Stop this madness. The humans are not our enemy. The Chancellor lies to you. I have seen the truth with my own eyes. Static answered her. Then a voice she knew too well cut through the air. Her brother. Arya. No. His voice was thick with sorrow. You shame us all. Come back before it is too late. Her throat closed. It is too late. Too late for lies. Too late for blood without reason. I will not fight for the Chancellor's war. His silence cut deeper than any wound. Then his reply came, hard and final. Then you are no sister of mine. The channel went dead. Arya's knees buckled, but she forced herself to stand. The pain of her brother's words was a fire in her chest, a fire she would carry into battle. The humans were falling back, the base shaking under the double assault. The commander shouted orders, rallying the line, but the enemy was too many. Arya ran to him, her blade dripping black blood. We must strike the insects hard here before your walls fail. Push them back or we are finished. He studied her, then nodded. You lead, her heart jolted. A human commander giving her command? She wasted no time. Raising her blade high, she shouted with all the fury in her lungs. Forward. Push them into the fire. The soldiers obeyed. Together they surged out, cutting down the insects in a wave of steel and flame. Energy blasts lit the night, the air thick with smoke and screams. Arya fought at the front, her blade singing, her voice rising. And slowly, against all odds, the humans began to drive the swarm back. Above, her people's ships paused. They had seen her fight, not against humans, but for them. They had heard her voice on the channel. Some broke formation, hesitating. A few even turned away, refusing to fire. For the first time, doubt spread through her people's ranks. The Chancellor's grip cracked. When the last insect fell, silence rolled across the battlefield. Smoke hung in the air, broken only by the ragged breathing of survivors. Arya stood among the humans, her body trembling, blood streaking her armor. Her people's fleet hovered above, divided, uncertain. The commander approached, his face shadowed but his eyes bright with fierce respect. "You chose," he said softly. Arya's chest ached, but her voice was steady. "I chose truth." She looked at the humans around her, soldiers who had once called her enemy, now standing with her as allies. And though she had lost her brother, though her clan would curse her name, she felt something new rise in her heart. Not just survival, not just loyalty, a bond stronger than blood. She remembered the day she was captured, the moment she braced for death at human hands. But instead of death, they had given her something else. A future.